Hey guys, before I want to start, I'd like to say, holy crap, you guys are nuts. I was gonna do a 100 sub thank you video, but then I got caught up in finals in school, and then I came back home, and I didn't really have an idea of what I wanted to do. And now you guys are at 150, and you're just rushing me, and I'm like, So, like the other thank you video, I'm gonna do another theory video. So for this video, I'd like to address the thing that we all fear the most, the thing that's causing all the tension since Peridon and Jasper have been defeated, the cluster. Now, I'll be the first to say this because everyone else seems to be ignoring it. Why? Huh, you may be asking? Why what? Well, we've all just kind of accepted the fact that the cluster exists and not really have question on why does it exist? Why is it there on Earth? The big why. It's like coming over to your grandma and be like, look, little Tammy, I have a nuke in my house. The first thing you're going to ask is why, and not be okay with being like, oh yeah, that's cool, grandma, and just live on with your life. No, we just seem to accepted the fact it's there and not really questioned, so I will. So let me start off with the science part of this all that slightly bothers me. And I know it's a cartoon, so don't get your panties in a bunch, I understand. But I just want to address the scientific side of this before we go on. Peridot said that the cluster is dormant within the center of the Earth. Now, that's where my big problem stems off initially, because within the Earth, it's just magma, mantle, and, our giant iron core, which keeps the magnetic field around our planet and which keeps us spinning. Essentially, we have almost a mini sun within our planet of how hot it gets. Now, if you know anything about magma, lava, or anything that comes from within the center of the Earth, it's pretty hot. So hot that if you were to come in contact with your bare flesh, it would instantly vaporize your skin, make your eyes and head explode because of the sudden water deprivation, and it would essentially just evaporate you with your bones and everything else that you think will stand time in a matter of seconds. Now, that's pretty graphic, I know, but the same goes for gems, because as we saw, Amethyst just fell off the cliff and hit a rock and her gem cracked, which means as sturdy as their manifested bodies are, the gems themselves are still pretty flimsy in a way. So if you were to throw something in that hot of temperatures, it would disappear. Although diamonds are the strongest material on Earth that we have so far, discovered, if you were to throw a diamond in lava, it would disappear. Although it's funny because diamonds come from, being exposed to such high temperatures and pressures. That's how they became like that. But if it's exposed to the actual magma itself, you would have completely different effects. So this being said, having just a giant cluster, of gems in the center of the Earth, they still would not be able to survive the temperatures and pressures that are within the Earth. They would just not. The only way they could is what I assume is like the other ones, they're in a pod. But this one must be like more of an egg shape, and it really is like warming an egg and incubating it, because otherwise the gems would not survive the temperatures of the molten magma inside the Earth, or mantle, as it's called, I guess, scientifically. But then that also makes me question, how did they get the cluster down there in the first place? Now, we are building a drill currently to get to the cluster, but there must have been an access point in one time or another. Because think of it like burying a body. I know it's a little morbid, but think about it like that. We have to dig out a large portion of the Earth to put it down in there, and then take all the dirt we had and cover it up. So even if they did something like that, it would have been pretty noticeable, and it must have taken a long time with a lot of machinery if they went along that route. Or they could have just somehow had a tiny hole drilled into it and then had an explosion go off to create a sort of hollow chamber, which then they put on their incubator and then started putting the gems down there like that, I suppose. Otherwise, I don't see a way they got the gems down there in the first place. Another thing about the cluster, which makes me think back to the heat and pressure thing. Even as they are down there, there is enough heat and pressure to which I assume it's not going to be like the jaggedy little crystals we saw, because those are incubated at regular earthly temperatures of, not burning your flesh degrees. What I assume is going to happen, because it's in this incubating sort of state, the heat and pressure just from the outside going into it, it will not be jaggedy, more so it will turn into either a sphere or more of an oval with just different colored parts, because it'll just kind of condense it and smush it together, and they'll essentially form one being. I don't think it'll be like the other gem fusions to which they seem completely separated from one another and trying to escape. This one, will be merged together pretty violently, and it'll be one singular being. But now moving on to the actual threat of the cluster. I don't think it possesses any. I know that's crazy to say, and you'll be like, well, the Earth is in danger. Yes, but aside from the Earth, it is not really that dangerous at all. Because here's the three things that will happen once the cluster emerges. You will either A, explode the planet and emerge in a position of our planet, but still be stuck within the sun's gravitation, to which will just, replace the planet but keep revolving around the sun and just sit there and be useless. It can B, be used as a geo-weapon, a weapon against the Earth, as just like a last kind of, hey, Rose Quartz, go suck it kind of weapon and just destroy the whole Earth, but still be useless and sat there. Or C, it'll be used as a geo-weapon, kind of like the Death Star, which maybe it'll possess one giant eye and have laser beams to shoot across the galaxy. But even then, it's kind of useless because it's still stuck in the Milky Way galaxy, and it will have to have some pretty dead-eye aim, which will have to go faster than the speed of light to hit whatever they're trying to hit. So you see the conundrum, as threatening it is to the Earth, otherwise it's just kind of useless in general. Now, quickly going back to science things, if, let's say, the moon hit the Earth, we would all die. But the way we would die is the moon would cause so much friction entering our atmosphere that everything will be leveled and scorched. Our oceans, where the squid probably half the size of the Earth is sleeping right now, all of the oceans will be evaporated. And then once it finally collides, it will just create kind of a crackdown situations in which everything would fracture and the inside molten core will start to be exposed, and the Earth will just kind of implode or explode depending on however it went. If they were to use the cluster in this manner of ways, it would still be extremely useless. Because yes, the density of it is pretty great because it's apparently twice the size of the Earth, but once again, the gem bodies are not sturdy enough to handle something cataclysmic as planetary devastation. So if they were to use it like a giant wrecking ball and collide with another planet, it would survive for a little while, but then the gem body would just poof, and then in the end it will just be the giant gem cracking down on the planet, and then the gem would explode. So it's kind of a one-off suicide mission for the cluster. So once again, it's kind of useless in that regard of like, yeah, we can take out a really big planet, but once. And I know that may sound threatening of like, yeah, that's planetary devastation, like, dude, that's not cool. But then again, there's the problem of it's stuck in our solar system and they would have to somehow get it out and get it somewhere else. Would they just do it Invader Zim style and just have giant boosters to try to move it as a giant spaceship? Or would they use their hand ships and just press down on it and try to push it? Because plot twist, that's not gonna work. So I think I've covered the main points I wanted to for the cluster. The sciencey part of it kind of upsets me because if it's not in some sort of giant metal or whatever casket it's in protecting it, it's pretty much melted down and useless by now, so we have absolutely nothing to worry about. Then the other part of it, if it did, let's say, come out, how useful would it be other than just to destroy the Earth with? Unless it has a giant laser beam of death which travels faster than the speed of light, it also seems very useless. So honestly, I'm not sure how threatening the cluster is other than to us. So I hope you've enjoyed. Thank you for watching, and thank you for subscribing once again. The next milestone I'll probably do is 500, and I think I may have just a viewer choice, which means I'll just have like maybe 2 or 3 options, and then you guys choose, because I always feel like just making a Steven Theory video each and every milestone seemed like pretty repetitive and not that fun to watch after a while. But anyway, thank you for watching.